Why are southpaw fighters mysteriously feared by orthodox fighters? They seem to cause this unspoken intimidation factor of anxiety and hesitation when fighting their orthodox counterparts. And there's a reason for that. Southpaws are a rare breed. Only about 10% of us are left-handed, which makes them a minority everywhere, including sports. Now, why does this matter? Think about it. If you're an orthodox fighter, most of your sparring partners, most of your training drills, and most of your fights are against other orthodox fighters. You get used to the rhythm, the angles, the way punches and kicks come at you from a certain direction. But when you step into the cage with a southpaw, it's like trying to drive on the left side of the road for the first time. Everything feels off. Southpaws come at you from a different angle. Their jab is coming from your right. Their power hand is on the opposite side, and their footwork can throw you off balance. Since you don't encounter them as often, it's harder to adapt on the fly. That's why even seasoned orthodox fighters can find themselves hesitant or making mistakes when facing a southpaw. It's not just about skill, it's about familiarity. And when you're not used to something, it can feel like fighting a ghost. This lack of exposure isn't just a feeling, it actually makes sense. You might have noticed that southpaw fighters aren't exactly a dime a dozen in the MMA world. Only just over 17% use a southpaw stance, including Conor McGregor, Dustin Poirier, and Anderson Silva in the UFC, and Manny Pacquiao, Usyk, and Gervonta in boxing. That means for every 5 fighters you see, only 1 is a southpaw. If you analyze it, if you're an orthodox fighter, you spar with and fight more fighters with the same stance simply because there are more right-handed fighters. That means you're spending 80 to 90% of your training time getting used to the same stance, the same angles, the same rhythms. This makes it harder for you to predict and react to southpaw moves. The same thing can be said if you're a southpaw. You fight more right-handed martial artists than left-handed ones simply because there's less of you. That also means you have more experience in dealing with orthodox fighters, which gives you the unfair advantage over the opposite stance. Therefore, it's not only about skills but also about experience, or rather the lack of it. Most fighters simply don't train against southpaws enough to feel comfortable when they face one in the cage. And that's exactly why southpaws can be so intimidating. What's quite interesting is that left-handed fighters are actually overrepresented in MMA compared to the general population. But they're still in the minority, which gives them that element of surprise. You might be top-notch against other orthodox fighters, but when you face a southpaw, you're stepping into unfamiliar territory. Take a fighter like Conor McGregor, for instance. His southpaw stance, with that lethal left hand dubbed the touch of death by coaches, has been a nightmare for many orthodox fighters, precisely because they haven't trained enough against that style. When you're not used to something, it gets into your head. What should be a predominantly physical fight becomes more of a mental fight. You start hesitating, overthinking, or making mistakes you wouldn't normally make. That hesitation can be the difference between landing a clean strike or getting caught off guard. It's why even the most seasoned orthodox fighters can look shaky against a southpaw. They're not just fighting an opponent, they're fighting their own lack of preparation. In combat sports, rhythm is everything. It's that sweet flow where your strikes land just right, your defenses are on point, and you're in total control. But in this case, that gets thrown right out the window. Because southpaws are natural disruptors of rhythm. You're just used to the jab coming from the left, the power cross from the right, lead kick from the left, and power roundhouse kick from the right. It's a totally different playbook. It's like playing a video game where all buttons are mixed up. You just don't know what to press. Anderson Silva does this a lot. He's a master at messing with orthodox fighters' heads. His head movement was so unpredictable that orthodox fighters couldn't land a clean shot. He'd check their jabs, slip their crosses, and counter with something you never saw coming. It's like he was dancing to a different beat, one that orthodox fighters just couldn't keep up with, one that makes them second guess a lot. Southpaws create a mental puzzle for orthodox fighters, forcing them to adjust to unfamiliar angles on the fly, which can lead to costly mistakes. The overthinking causes mental overload, which can slow you down, make you hesitate, and open the door for southpaws to land something nasty. You just don't know what's coming next. The southpaws love that. They capitalize on it, and they exploit it. Because you're not flowing, you're just constantly guessing. You find yourself overprotecting yourself, especially that vulnerable spot, your liver. Your usual stance as a right-hander leaves you wide open to some seriously damaging shots, especially if the southpaw has an impeccable timing with great accuracy. Your lead left leg and the right side of your body are like a big flashing target for the southpaw's attacks. A liver shot from a punch can drop you down to your knees. You might still be able to recover after a few seconds, but a roundhouse kick or a knee from a kickboxer or a Muay Thai fighter? Unless you've developed a supernatural body defense from such a strike, there's no recovering from that within a 10-second count. It's brutally painful. If you've ever taken a liver shot, you know what it's like. It just creates an unspeakable fear inside your head. That fear of getting hit by a devastating liver shot that can end a fight in a second. However, it's not your fault that this is the case, because your training dictates how are you going to perform in that cage. The problem is your defensive habits are built for orthodox opponents. You're used to checking kicks from the left, blocking punches from predictable angles. They're not better fighters against the opposite stance, not at all. They're just good at exploiting their opponent's vulnerabilities and capitalizing their advantages. They just know they have the statistical advantage, and their experience in fighting the opposite stance is just greater than the orthodox fighters. So, when you see an orthodox fighter wincing from a low kick or doubling over from a body shot against a southpaw, you know what's happening. They're getting hit in places they didn't even realize were so exposed. It's another reason southpaws are such a nightmare in the cage. Stay dangerous, and I'll see you next time.